SteveRandom, and in today's video, I got a nice video for y'all. Today is if you're new to niche fragrances, because we all are at one point, and you don't know what to try. I was at that position at one point, and I'll explain my story later on. But here I have 5 different niche houses or fragrance houses that I would recommend maybe trying out first, but also starting out with maybe because they would have, or they do have, a wide variety of different fragrances that you possibly like. Because I know when you're first starting out with niche fragrances, or you're going from designer to niche, or you want to get some niche fragrances but you've always used designer fragrances, it can be a little bit tough, especially liking something, because a lot of the niches could be higher quality, could be a little stronger, could be a little different to what you'd smell with designers usually, as most of them are filled up with ambroxan and amberwood and all that kind of stuff, that are meant to be more pleasant to the nose and more versatile, whereas niche fragrances have to be precise and they're really strong and higher quality, so they may not smell as good. I know that doesn't make sense, but if you're having that trouble, then you kind of get me. But what I try to do with these 5 fragrance houses is I try to pick some that have more variety in their line, that you can potentially like one of them. Because I know if it's a house that's specific to, I don't know, extreme stuff, like I'm not throwing this fragrance, or this is not even a niche, this is more of an indie brand, but like, for example, Zoologist, it was very hard for me to start smelling Zoologist fragrances, but then over time, as I appreciated different fragrances and smelled different things, my nose developed and I started liking more Zoologist fragrances. And I really like T-Rex. That's a very heavy fragrance that I'll probably never reach for if I'm going out, but to myself it smells good. It smells very, very strong, very woodsy and very heavy to the nose, but it smells good to me. And the only way I developed that was just time and smelling different fragrances and just improving my, I guess, scent profile. I don't know. But to start things off, I'm going to begin with one that's pretty much on the cheaper side, I would say, compared to the rest. Really good niche fragrance brand. This one is Mancera. And I just picked Cedrat Bosé because that's just the fragrance I have. It doesn't have to be Cedrat Bosé, because some of these other ones don't have to be specific. But if I did have to recommend one, it would be probably Cedrat Bosé. But this is a great fragrance to start things off, and just a great house in general to start things off. Mancera has a wide range of fragrances, and even with Mancera, I'll say Montal, which I don't have a fragrance from, but I believe it's the person that is behind Mancera is the same person behind Montal, I believe. Those 2 houses I would definitely recommend to try out. Just try out some of their fragrances, try out samples. You don't have to go straight to the bottle and try it. But they do have a lot of fragrances to try from, so you definitely find something you'd like. When I started out with niche, or when I first was smelling niche fragrances, I nearly hated all of them till I got introduced to one of the houses in the next upcoming ones that I'll show you guys. But if you guys have been here for a while, you guys would know that I started out with Creed Aventus, kind of a heavy hit to start out with, but it wasn't actually the first niche I smelled. When I was in Chicago at one point, I did go to like Neiman Marcus and all those other fragrance stores, and I did try out a lot of niche fragrances, and then Creed Aventus stuck out to me overall, because obviously all the hype and everything, I was just like, I had to get it, but let me see if I like it first. And I did end up liking it, and that's how I got into niche fragrances. Obviously, I did a lot of samples. I have like probably a couple hundred samples that I have gone through of different niche fragrances, because sometimes I just want to give them a try, and sometimes if I like them, I'll put them on my list to like get in the future, and if I don't, then at least I tried it and I've sort of learned from that fragrance what I do like and what I don't like. Sorry to go on a side story there, but I just wanted to share my experience with y'all. But Mancera Rose is a good fragrance to start off with, or just a good house. Mancera is a good house to start with. Next up, we're going a little bit higher in the price, and as you know, niche fragrances are pretty expensive, and that's like the one downside. But Mancera actually you can find for about like $90, $100, so it's not too bad compared to the rest. Next up, we're moving to Parfums Marly. Parfums Marly, this one is Percival, and this is probably the best fragrance to start off with from their line of fragrances. But the house itself is terrific to start things off. It is more expensive though, but I would recommend, if you're looking for niche fragrances, Parfums Marly is a really good house to start things off with. Give some of their fragrances a try, because some of their fragrances are more heavy and more of like the more experienced niche heads, and then some of them are more introductory, like Percival, like Darley, like some other ones, Leighton even as well. Those like three are pretty nice to start things off with. So that was Parfums Marly. Their fragrances I think range from like $130 to like $220, like somewhere in that range. So they are more expensive, but sometimes it's worth it if you do really like the fragrance and you want to get into niche fragrances. Next up, we have Amwaj. Amwaj, this is Reflection Man. This is also another one to get things rolling. Amwaj itself is also a really good house, but Reflection Man is also a really good fragrance to get things rolling in the niche world. It obviously smells very, very likable and very simple, but it does represent some sort of quality and something that would get you more interested in niche fragrances. It is harder though to find these days, and you don't want to go for like, for example, Interlude Man, which is way out of the zone of somebody to start things off with, because that one smells like a pit of fire, which somehow smells pleasant because it smells like almost like oud in a way. And I believe it has oud in there, but it smells like smoky oud. So that one is a good fragrance, but I wouldn't recommend to start things off with Interlude Man from Amwaj. But this is Reflection Man. This is definitely a good starter from the house. Next up, we're going for a house that's more, I guess, low-key. I mean, a lot of people know about this, but I just never see this fragrance house getting mentioned as much as it should be. And I kind of sometimes do get that, as their fragrances are more artistic, and they're not as compliment getter type fragrances. But this is Byredo, Byredo Pulp. Byredo is a great house to get things rolling for the niche side of things. They have like a bunch of fragrances that you can try out, and I'm sure you'll like one of them. As you know, when I gave the whole line a try, I liked Pulp. I liked other ones too. I liked Accord Oud. I liked Gypsy Water. I liked Mojave Ghost. All those I liked, and this was just the first time smelling all of them. So I'm sure you guys will like one if you're starting off, or you want to get a niche fragrance and you don't know what to try. You've been trying some and you don't like them, but you now want to switch it up. Byredo is a great opportunity to get you into niche fragrances. And yeah, the problem with Byredo and other niche fragrances is it's going to range higher in the price. Byredo you can probably find for about like 170 to 250. I mean, like, I think the most expensive one from their line may be Gypsy Water, which was like, I think $280 when I last checked. I'm not sure recently what what has happened to the price, but that's the only one that really stands out in terms of price. The other ones are more in like the 200, lower 200 range. So that's Byredo, another great house to start your niche world in. And to end things off, as I've mentioned, this is what I started out with. Not recommended though to start straight with this fragrance brand. It could be a good range of fragrances that are very versatile and very mass appealing fragrances that you probably like. I think my camera just cut off there. This is a good fragrance house to start things off with, but I wouldn't recommend just jumping straight into this, as their fragrances are pretty expensive. This one is Creed Aventus. Creed, they have a lot of mass appealing fragrances that you can possibly get, possibly try out if you're just starting off and want to delve into the niche world. But Creed Aventus is the higher up fragrance from the brand that really got things rolling for them. Another one is Green Irish Tweed, which I recommend trying out. That one I would recommend trying out more than Creed Aventus, because this one you may like, but at the same time you're spending like $300+ on this, which sometimes won't be worth it, especially with different batch variations and all that. And I won't even get into the batch variations, because if you're starting things off, I don't think you want to really go in depth with different batch variations and everything. But to put it in, short terms, different batches of this fragrance come out, and of different Creed fragrances. I think they do it with all their fragrances, but most, the most common one is Creed Aventus, that gets reformulated every year and receives a new batch. And so sometimes the batch of the 2020 will be a lot more fruity than the batch of 2016, will be maybe more smoky. It seems like recently they've been going into the more fruity and lighter side. And they also did release Aventus Cologne, which is just like a more less strong version of Creed Aventus. That's been 5 niche fragrance houses to start things off with. If you're just very new to niches and you don't know what to smell, don't know what to try, you've tried like different houses or different fragrances and you've never liked them, I would say give these a go, try them out, give them a sample, and let me know what you think. I was in the same boat as you guys that are just starting with niche fragrances. I was like, what the heck, there's so many niche fragrances, what do I smell? Oh my god, it's like $200? I need to smell this first before I buy it, and all that. I was just going through a lot of different, samples and smelling different things, and I found out different fragrances I like, but obviously it takes time, and it takes time also for you to develop, smelling some of those strong fragrances. And some people don't like them even over time, but you'd realize if you're just starting out with niche, you would enjoy different fragrances a lot more that range from different, like from oud, from versatile, from mainstream, from woodsy, versus with designer, you're only kind of stuck with one path, which is like ambroxan, mass appealing, will get you compliments, not very artistic, very like potent fragrances that girls tend to like, type of things like that. Whereas with niche, you get to explore a whole different world of fragrances. So that's been it. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Peace.